Hello, East Brunswick. I hope everybody is still doing fine while we're still under this stay-at-home order and quarantined at home. I do want to wish all those mothers a belated Happy Mother's Day. I didn't have a chance to do that. Normally, I write something on Facebook or social media, but as many of you might know, I lost my mother this past February. So it was a little bit of a melancholy Mother's Day for me, but mothers are clearly critical and important, and hopefully we're having a little bit more time to enjoy our time with mothers while we're home, trying to get some sort of silver lining out of this situation. For numbers' sake, we stand at this point as of last night at 603 COVID positive cases here in East Brunswick and 41 deaths. A good portion of the deaths that unfortunately have taken place in East Brunswick have occurred at long-term care facilities. And among the long-term care facilities, the vast majority, we only have 3 here in East Brunswick. The vast majority of those deaths are at the Care 1 facility, but it's important to make a distinction for those of you who are looking at numbers. Care 1 is a rehab facility, and in many instances, they are forced to take patients who are discharged from the hospital. In many instances, it includes people who are already known to be COVID positive. And so their number of cases has been much greater than the 2 other assisted living facilities in town, which are actual residences, and the ability for them to quarantine people is a lot easier than it is at a rehab facility. But for those who are tracking and following the statistics, close to 55 to 60% of our COVID-related deaths are at long-term care facilities. And the other interesting piece of information you should know about that is that, especially at the Care 1 facility, many people are admitted there, and because their death took place in East Brunswick, it's listed as an East Brunswick death. But their actual home residence may be somewhere else, but the death is linked to our statistics, which may or may not make us look like we have more than other townships. So again, when you're looking at any type of statistical information, it's important that you understand the background behind those numbers. As far as township updates, most of you are aware that the Township Council did allow for an extended grace period for taxes by moving that last day of taxes from May 11th to now adding a grace period that would take it to June 1st. As a result of that, we have seen that there are a few residents in town who are taking advantage of that. For the most part, the bulk of our institutional payers, meaning our taxes that have been escrowed by large mortgage companies, have all paid. Our 10 largest, biggest payers have all paid on time. And as a result, the township is in a good cash flow position at this point in time. And so the movement to the June 1st date is really being used for the people it was designed for. Those in town who are having the most difficult time getting by in this crisis may or may not be waiting for unemployment checks, but for those people, that grace period still is at June 1st. For those who are also thinking about the future, August 1st payment of taxes is generally the beginning of a new tax year for the township. And because the state has already moved its budget until September, it's extraordinarily likely, in fact, it's absolutely positive, that we're going to be issuing estimated tax bills come August 1st. As you know, the township is really just the collector of taxes for a bunch of different taxing bodies. The school makes its levy, the township collects for it. Once we collect it, it's turned over to the schools. The same thing for the county, the same thing for the fire district. When all of those taxing bodies have provided us with their tax bill going forward for the 2020-2021 year, that's what we send out as a new tax bill. But the problem that remains is that a large portion of our budget comes from state aid. For the township, we anticipate and have traditionally relied upon about $4 million in state aid from the state of New Jersey. And that's just for the township. For the schools, that's approximately $16 million in state aid that goes to the schools. And we're almost always told at this point in the year that we should budget under the assumption that we'll get the same amount of aid that we got the year before. And in any other regular year, we would expect that that could occur. The reality that all of us know is that the state of New Jersey is in desperate shape looking for money itself in order to meet those obligations. It's looking for grants from the federal government. It's looking to borrow money in order to meet those obligations. So while we have been told that we should budget with the assumption that we will get our state aid and the school will get their state aid, the reality is that's absolutely not guaranteed. And so there is a possibility that we could issue a bill in August and have to change that once we find out what will, in the end, be the amount of state aid that the township and the school board actually gets. For those of you who don't know, our recycling center reopened last week. The dates of operation are going to be every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. Please be aware that you need to provide proof of or some sort of identification that you are an East Brunswick resident, and you must wear a mask. This is for your safety and the safety of our employees who are working there. Also a reminder, garbage pickup moves to twice a week after Memorial Day. And as always, the second pickup during the week will be the bulk pickup day. So don't put that bulk garbage out on your first day. That's always the second day. In addition, I also want to talk a little bit about graduation. I've seen a lot of comments on Facebook and social media. As many of you know or may know, the governor announced a couple of weeks ago when school was shut down that he would have an answer for most school districts on when and what would happen with the rest of the year, and he promised to make that by May 15th. For all the time that the staff and administration have been working, they've been working under a plan that it is entirely possible that he would have opened school on May 15th. So an awful lot of the work that they were doing is planning on how to handle with social distancing rules, how you're going to handle cafeterias and moving through hallways and busing and all of the myriad of problems that would have occurred should school have opened. Fortunately, the governor did give word last week, May 8th, letting everybody know that school would actually be closed and closed for the rest of the year. So it was only at that point that most of them were able to really spend a lot of attention on things such as graduation or what the school year would look like going into September. And then with plans already underway, there was an announcement on Saturday that because any drive-through type of graduations or things that we may have planned for in terms of driving up to the high school constituted an actual assembly of people, the governor's office and the state police issued a statement that all graduations must be virtual. So the point I'm getting at is that your school board, your school officials are really a couple of microseconds ahead of the general public in terms of the information that they're getting. And so don't take a lack of information or a lack of communication as a conspiracy to try to deny graduates an opportunity for the best possible graduation they can have. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Information gets updated rapidly, very quickly, almost as quickly as it comes out of my mouth. It may change. So please keep your ears open. I can promise you that working on some sort of graduation that's meaningful to all of our graduates is a priority of the school board and the administration. And as soon as they have some answers for you, that will be provided. As far as summer camps, right now the administration, our township summer camps, our administration has made a recommendation to the Parks and Rec Department, who expect to be speaking to the Recreation and Park Advisory Board tomorrow evening. That's your board that represents the township's residents and their feelings for what they want in terms of all of our Parks and Recs program. We have a recommendation on what we should do with that. Please expect an answer, the public answer on what we're going to be doing with township-sponsored summer camps by the end of this week. As far as Crystal Springs, What we're looking to do right now is to try to find some way of salvaging a season there. And again, information coming out of the state and the CDC regarding how you could safely manage a water park of that size keeps changing in terms of how and when we're going to start to reopen the state, what type of social distancing rules are going to have to be applied, and when will those be implemented, is all not been decided. But our plan at this point is we're fairly certain that you could take to the bank that we will not be able to open up Crystal Springs by Memorial Day. What we are looking to do is to try to find a way of salvaging some part of that season, and that would be something that we would open on July 1st and hopefully keep that through the summer and close as we would normally close. Memorial Day. Most of you know that we generally have a beautiful memorial service that we do at our memorial park here at the township. But because of the situation that we're in right now, that's going to need to go, like everything else, virtual. What we're asking for this year is to try to update our Memorial Day service by allowing more and more people to be involved. So what we're asking residents to do, whether they are parts of organizations, religious groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, students, youth council, we would like you to send in to EBTV a 20, 30-second clip of why Memorial Day is important to you, what meaning it has, information that you would want to impart with your fellow residents about why Memorial Day is so important. We'd like you to turn that into EBTV, and you'll see up on the screen in a couple of seconds the address to send that videotape into. Our goal is to be able to provide a program on Memorial Day at the time that we would normally have presented it, and of course be able to share that with our community and beyond. Another project that and program that I'd like residents to tune into is one that's being sponsored by the Lost Souls Project. For those of you who are not aware, the Lost Souls Project is a group of residents who have taken upon themselves to study our history and have been able to discover that there was a judge in East Brunswick over 200 years ago who unfortunately was involved with a group in New Orleans who took free African Americans and sold them back into slavery over 200 years ago. And he was an East Brunswick judge. And what we've done is put together this society that recognizes that injustice. And each year we have a recitation of the names of those individuals that we know were lost in an attempt to try to re-welcome them back to the community that shunned them over 200 years ago. The project is also looking to raise money to put an installation at the Community Arts Center that is a celebration of their life. And the design is specific and the location is specific because we want to welcome them back into the community where we generally rejoice as a community and not park them in a memorial park that just celebrates the manner in which they lost their lives. The program and the third annual recitation of names will be on May 30th at 7:30 in the evening. The information on EBTV will give you the Zoom information for you to join in. We're anticipating to have our Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman participating in the evening as well. So please join us for that. In an effort to reach out to small businesses, which are extraordinarily important in our town and any other town, and as the backbone of business and commerce in any town, we're looking to do what we can to try to help those members in our community who have lost jobs or are suffering because of this pandemic, and any of our East Brunswick Chamber of Commerce members by offering to any one of them an opportunity to have a 2 to 3 minute video clip shot by our EBTV department and put out onto social media and back to the businesses for them to put on their own Facebook pages or media circuits so that they could do anything that we can to try to help those businesses survive, I think is something that we as residents here would want to do, and that's just the least that we could do as a township to try to help them. And so that contact information for any business that might be interested in participating can be put up, will be up on our site as you listen to me. In addition, you could also contact the East Brunswick Regional Chamber of Commerce, and they'll have information on how to put together a video so that we can help you get back in business. I'd like to end by giving a couple of thank yous to people in this township who have gone, and outside the township for that matter, who have gone above and beyond during this crisis. And sometimes these are the opportunities or the times when you see people really reach in deep down and you see the depth of their humanity. The first I'd like to reach out to are our sister city of Xiamen in the People's Republic of China. That sister city, which we established about 2 years ago, clearly had their own issues with this virus months before we did, but their factories are up and operating, and many of them have produced PPE, which they have donated to the Township of East Brunswick, sent here at their own expense, and have been able to provide not only PPE for our own police department, but we've been able to even provide some of them to the 2 area hospitals in New Brunswick, both St. Peter's Hospital and Robert Wood Johnson. We need to give a big shout out to the East Brunswick Police Department, who are not only working through this crisis and are doing the best job possible to keep everybody safe and healthy during this crisis, but have contributed on their own time to provide the Blue Delivery Service, which is working with ShopRite to help provide delivery service for groceries to those people who are unable to really get out themselves. This past week, they passed the 300 mark in terms of the number of deliveries. So I think they deserve a huge a round of applause that they can't hear. Also, I'd like to shout out to former Councilwoman Denise Contrino, who I think is a one-woman show, going out and raising money, providing food, both to Robert Wood and St. Peter's, almost by herself. And I think that we all ought to recognize that nobody needs to do any of these things. They're doing it out of the kindness of their heart, and they're doing it for the right reasons. They deserve the credit for doing that. My own charity fund, which most of you know I have nothing to do with, it's a separate board of trustees, has also been raising money and providing food to area hospitals and employing our own township restaurants to do that. So it's a twofer in terms of helping the hospitals and helping give business to the small businesses that are suffering right now. There are many residents who have provided PPE to our East Brunswick Police Department. The TAP has done a good job of recognizing some of those individuals, both from the Chinese community, the Muslim community, and many other communities in town who've either dipped into their own pockets and bought the material and provided it, or simply searched their own homes and were able to dig out equipment that they're not using and provided it to our police department. It's very, very much appreciated. Brusnwick Memorial, they put together a volunteer Google program which matches individuals who are looking to do any type of help for those around town with those that are in need. In addition, they did a joint partnership with Care One this past week where they provided flowers for Mother's Day for anyone who was a healthcare worker. And that was also very, very much appreciated. Our East Brunswick Chamber of Commerce raised money. They made food, brought raised donations, even while many of their own members haven't been working, in order to provide funds for any one of these services that's been providing food or opportunities for the healthcare and essential workers and our first responders in town. The Brusnwick Square Mall has also opened up its mall for COVID testing, for some private labs. They're working with Robert Wood Johnson right now to provide an area for plasma donations. You may have also read this week on social media, Clothing Center, a well-known long-term small business here in town, clearly shut down because the business is not considered to be essential, but yet was able to find it in their heart to use their facility to be making gowns for healthcare workers at St. Peter's Medical Center, when most of us know that finding gowns of all the PPE has been the most difficult thing for many hospitals to do. Also want to shout out to the many, many East Brunswick mask makers. You know who you are, who are digging out the old sewing machines and making homemade masks for scores of people throughout town, at the hospitals, at essential places of business, where you're making a difference in trying to make sure that we keep control of this disease and this pandemic, and put many, many, many people who would ordinarily have been at risk at ease, knowing that we're doing all that we possibly can to keep them safe. And there's many, many others. Please don't get mad at me if I've forgotten you. My job here is to try to shout out to as many people as possible. But please, at the end of the day, I think that we're beginning to see, hopefully, a little bit of the unwinding of this. Please be patient. Do everything that you can to continue what we need to keep everybody safe. Wear masks when you're out in public places, wash regularly, keep your social distances, and most of all, stay well and stay safe.